Nyalo songatfola imali lephuma eMzansi ngahamba mali wakho. Tihlobo takho letise South Africa atisadzingi kusebenzisa tindlela letingumgunyati naletingakaphephi. Cela nothumela imali kutsi asebenzise iMomo app yase South Africa, click send now noma mukuru kuthumela namuhla. Imali ingena ngakuphathima weliso. Momo akanamncele.
When young people stop dreaming, there's no country. When young people stop seeing the future as amazing and great, there's no country. You are our believers. When we have stopped dreaming, we've got to come to you and say, what does it look like? And you must say to us, it looks amazing. When you don't have that in your vocabulary, what do we have? When we stop your dreams, when we don't open doors for you, what are we doing? When people call me a dreamer, I don't look at it and go, oh, this is a terrible thing. Because every single thing you're holding in your hand today, whether it's or anything that you have, someone had to dream about us having lights, electricity, and we have it. You don't need to take away people's dignity. Standing in line is a dignity stealer. Waiting and asking someone and paying someone to potentially give you a passport or an ID steals the dignity, steals the future. 35% of the jobs by 2030 we have today will be gone in the world. Okay, so how do we build capacity for the new jobs? You know, what I worry about with the Instagrams is that you guys look at people who are showing you lives they don't even have, that they're also leasing, and you think it's real. And then you take money that you actually do have to imitate those lives and get broke.
Superstar Rockstar Levol, Bahle, welcome back to the biggest YouTube channel. Bahle, unanga subscribe. Please make sure you pause this video right now and subscribe. Hit the notification button, comment. Most importantly, share the video to everyone that's watching Bahle and make sure we grow the Rockstar family, the biggest YouTube channel in the country. And Bahle, we are back with another episode. Shout out to Ikleri store for always making sure the boys are looking clean for the podcast. You can also get it online. TikTok, Instagram, and on Facebook. Make sure you follow Ikleri store or just visit the shop, Bahle. That's the right thing to do. Now, Bahle, we have a very special episode. Episode 11, solo email, episode on the internet, episode a clip here, trend, and everyone has been asking everywhere. Episode other people even felt like it was a scam. But guys, we are truly humbled and we are truly honored. Good to see the Honorable Minister of ICT and the one and only Savannah Maziya in the building. Listen. Honorable Minister, thank you so much for honoring our invite.
Thank you.
It's truly a privilege. And welcome to the biggest YouTube channel / biggest podcast in the country.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, I'd like to congratulate you on your new award. I saw on your Instagram, browser through. Let me check on my phone. Wait, let me get it right. But see, it's Global Women Leadership Award at the World Leadership Congress Award in Mumbai. Did I get it right?
You did.
Is that yes? What does this mean to you, Honorable Minister? Award le?
I'm always so thankful for people recognizing the work that you do, whether it's in business or in government. So for me, it's always an honor and a reminder that people are watching what you're doing, and what you're doing is really important. And it also makes you understand that there's a big world out there that's looking what you're doing, and a big world that's representing what you're doing. So as a human being, you always have to act right and do right, because it's not just only in your own home country. Other people are watching what you're doing, so that's important. So I'm honored about that. I really am thankful and honored to be able to receive this award.
No, hoping would say, of course, I don't go Dalamani, because that's what you've been known for. Always, minister always has something to say. And Sajabula, because most of the time you're advocating for women in STEM and also for the youth, also with you've put a conversation in monetization. So we always thank you for always being a leader in everything that you do.
Thank you.
So Minister, we'd like to know, before your portfolio as the Honorable Minister, we'll say, who is Miss Savannah Maziya before sifike kube nothiyalo song honorable?
Thank Thank you so very much. Well, I mean, I'm a young girl from here. Oh, I used to be a young girl from here. No, I'm not so young anymore. And I've been someone who left here when I was very young.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the United States and I got my degree, and then I ended up working in banking in Wall Street. And then I left the US after a while and moved to South Africa and began my own business. And my business is in mining, my business in food services, in healthcare, in the hospitality field, as well as in construction. So I've been working very hard for a long time. I really enjoy working. It's one of the things that I don't feel bad about. Some people just sort of go into work and do what they got to do and leave. I just love working. I love to see progress. I like to see delivery. So I'm that kind of person. And I'm certainly not a politician.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still a person who views the world as being about delivery, and that at the end of each day, you should be able to account for what you've done, what you've delivered. So sometimes it's a challenge when certain things, especially in government, are beyond your control or are being stopped for whatever reason. So, every day you're learning something different about the human condition and you're appreciating different things every day. But I'm basically a young lady who is doing her best to give the country, a digital scorecard that is globally recognized and be able to ensure we can punch above our weight and give the Southern African region a position to see us as a leader in this particular space.
But Honorable Minister, it's like, it was just easy.
No.
Guys, I went to America, from America, I went to South Africa, I went and started mining. Like, it's just like...
No.
So can you please tell us, Honorable Minister, and my challenge is maybe that you faced just a young lady from the Kingdom of Eswatini, if there were any, because of course, it was the best, especially being a woman in a male-dominated space, especially mining. So maybe, yeah.
So I mean, basically, I'm a woman. I'm a Black woman. I'm an African woman. I'm an African woman from a small country that many people don't know about. And you are, whenever you go into any space, people want to know who you are, who your people are, who's funding you, what's happening in whatever you're doing. The greatest thing about my life is I was blessed with a very sunny disposition. Mm-hmm. So I always look at things from a positive perspective, even if some things are annoying, some things are progress are stopping. So even when I began my business, or even when I began my career, or even when I began and said, I'm going to go to the US, very few people at the time when I went were going, especially those who are my age. But I always knew from the age of 5 that I always wanted something better for myself. I did not have the same prism that the only thing I wanted was to be married and have children. I wanted to have more. And so I always tell everybody that I meet that, you close your eyes, have a dream, write it on paper, then make it happen. So that's been my life. And everything that I wanted, whether I wanted to go into mining, I didn't know anybody in mining, but you plan for it and you make it happen. And I'm so gung-ho about getting things done. I'm so gung-ho about not seeing a wall. I don't believe there's anything that you cannot do. Some things take time, but many things you can do. I've had many struggles, working with white people who don't want you to succeed, working with men who are always oppressing you. But I've always believed that there's nothing you cannot do when you put your mind to it. I've also always believed that you come with your own luck and then you make it happen. So in any time someone comes against me, I've always been sincere, I've always been truthful, I've always been focused, but I've always believed I will win. And whoever I'm working with and working for will always benefit from that. So I don't look at life from, oh my God, someone's stopping me, oh my God, and whatever. If you want to come and stop me as the challenges happen in life, I always think, because God has positioned me to be great at what I do. So when you come for me or when you come against me, this is your problem, not mine. I'm meant for greater things, and the people that I work for and with will always get greater things. So the difficulties that I've had in my life have always been about, I'll get over it. I'll make it happen. I've gone into construction and now own the largest construction company in the continent. I've gone into mining. I've gone into food services. I've gone into healthcare. And you learn a lot about human beings. You learn a lot about how to finesse situations to make them work for you. But of course, government is very different. I've never been in government before. I've chaired a few parastatals, and I've always focused and turned them around to ensure that they are business focused and ensure that they are income producing and sustainable. Because my belief is once you form a parastatal, the thinking is you wanted to come away from government and become a standalone and profitable business. So I'm always about turning things around and making them profitable, turn them around, making them profitable. So even when I buy a business that's not performing, I know how I can turn it around to make it perform. So that's really the skills base that I've been given. I think beginning my work in banking always makes you always look at the bottom line first and look at the risk and then figure out how do you mitigate risk. And I also did not want to be employed for too long because I felt that would kind of stop me from being a chance taker. And so that's when I decided, you know what, I'm going to go out on my own and be the writer of my own story.
Yeah. I'm out here just sitting, trying to take everything in. But like, we'll take it one day at a time, Honorable Minister, because you strike me as someone that has no boundaries. Anything left figure it's not like we see info. If I'm a podcaster, focus podcast and all of that. Maybe if you can tell us more about that as young people, we see to just spread your wings, and just try to work in other business entities if it's possible. Also, while we're still on that, you've been very vocal in finance and budgeting. Honorable Minister, please tell us more about that. As a lady now, so I'm sure background yako, it's not like you had money like that or you knew more about finance and budgeting. But of course, the first question, focus maybe in podcasting only and just try to spread my wings and book other business entities.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with being focused if that's the area that you feel you're best at and you can't move to other things. But your generation will have the blessing of being able to not only have one job. You know, I come from a generation where you get into a job at a particular place and you live in it for 30-something years and then you leave when you retire. You live in a generation where you can have multi-jobs at one time. You live in a generation where you can be your own business person as one individual, using other suppliers who are part of an ecosystem. So you're lucky that you have that as part of your offering. I always want to be able to say, because of the way my mind is made up, I'm not a very creative person. I'm a very mathematically linear person. But I also understand that you have to have different pockets of positions to be able to make an income. I'm also a big believer that when you work, you make money, but when you sleep, you make wealth. So you always want to have businesses that look at positioning you in that particular manner. You know, we're all trying to figure out what the future is going to look like, and no one can predict it. But what we know for sure is you have a different and better opportunity than our generation. And every generation should actually have better opportunities than the ones that they've, before them. We need to figure out how we give you that leg up as Africans from Eswatini who are competing with 8 billion people. That's what our job should be. And I believe that every single day, as we wake up as politicians and as adults, we should always say, am I going to do something today to move the needle for these young people to get opportunities? And as you go to bed at night, you should be able to look and say, as you evaluate your day, did I do enough today to be able to move that needle? Did I meet that commitment? And so when I think about the things we want to do for you is, you talk about the issue of budgeting and money. You know, my first job was at the Building Society in Eswatini. I was young. I was actually a minor. I had no business working. But I think my dad knew someone who knew someone. Terrible. And I got the job, right? Terrible. I was there, I think, for about 6 months before I went to the US to go to university. And I've always been, and as I said to you, my life plan began when I was 5 years old. So I kind of put a lot of things into the universe for alignment and for frequency. So I'm a big believer in that you attract things to you, right? And you can attract bad things, you can attract good things. And that at a particular time, you're being taught a lesson about how to grow to the next level, especially when you're getting a lot of attacks from a variety of negative energy. So you've got to say, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this? And not sit back and say, oh, why is this happening to me? Because who else did it happen to? Right. Only, the stronger get the most tests, the most tests. So I'm a real believer that you folks need to learn more about how to manage money. Whilst you're out there creatively doing podcasts, doing content creation, you've got to figure out how the money world works. If you don't know how money works, then you'll always be a slave to the world. So I'm really wanting to say, as we go and push for you to be paid for your content creation, I also want for you to know how to save the money. I also want for you to know how to invest the money. I also want for you to know how to grow the money, so that we do not have people who are dependent on the state, because those days really should be over. Government should not be where everybody's depending on. Government should be an enabler for opportunities and for policies to be clearer and be more promoting in the area of business, but not the one that hires the most people.
So yeah, Honorable Minister, inzaba yokuthi ufike kube minister. How does it happen? Ngoba you can't just njengoba usho simply like at 5. I mean, you can't. I'm sure you can't just dream and say, one day I want to be minister. So how just saying from outside, please try to make us understand how is the process? Do you apply to be a minister or you get appointed?
Listen, I'm 2 years in now. I still don't have the answer to that question. His Majesty, in his wisdom and in his planning for the country, saw it fit that I become a minister. I didn't even know a lot of things about how people even get to become in government here. You know, in other countries, you know that they've got political parties, and then the political party decides that these 10 will represent them in parliament and these 12 will represent them in cabinet. We've got a very different set of circumstances. So I really don't know. And you've got to keep in mind, and this is what I think I want to tell the young people, is when I got this job and I walked into cabinet, I faced 19 people I'd never met before who knew each other. Many were warm to me. I walked into an office, had no idea what had been done before and how it was done. So everything was new. There were days I'd feel like I'm Chinese speaking in an English speaking country. But, even when I was dealing with parliaments, for example, when I was a chair of a board, I would present to parliament, but you're on the other side. You're not a parliamentarian, right, or a senator. When I was presenting to cabinets around the world, I was presenting to them. I was not in cabinet. So I had to learn about the policy, the constitution really more intimately. I had to really understand how certain things work. And I also had to appreciate why certain things don't work. Some by just the structure, and some by just because human beings have made it practice, but some because sometimes when we're living in something, we don't see that it's not working effectively. You almost need a new set of eyes. It's like when you've got a problem, you can mellow in it and mellow in it and mellow in it. And then one of your friends can come and say, but wait a minute, why is this a problem for you? You can just call Savannah and she can sort this thing out for you. All of a sudden you've got a solution. But when you're sitting in something, sometimes you don't appreciate it. So I've had to do a lot of jumping loops and understanding policy. And I'm not a natural politician. I'm a natural business person. So I've had to kind of figure out how to come to the other side of the ledger. The great thing is I've always promised myself that I will not change my character. I will always be honest. I'll always have integrity. I'll always live to the highest character. And I'll always do the best I possibly can on every given day to ensure that whoever I am working with and working for gets the best value. So it's been an interesting journey, but I still don't know to this day how one becomes minister, except to say that all these things are within His Majesty as area of positioning. And he decides how and who becomes minister.
Ish. In Parliament, honorable minister. Now, for info, no something. Then at the end of the day, you can always say, "I withdraw."
Yes, yes.
You can always say, "I withdraw."
Yes.
How many times have you withdrawn?
I haven't. I haven't withdrawn yet. They've been very kind to me. I haven't withdrawn yet. Look, they're strict and they should be, and they are oversight and overseers, and they should be. But I haven't had to withdraw anything yet. I try to live on the right side of right. I'd always try to tell the truth, because in the end, that's all you have is your integrity and your word.
Now, when you became the minister, what was the digital landscape of the Kingdom of Eswatini? What would you say if you had to describe it? ICT.
So one of the good things that happened was I had about 3 months to kind of look around and see what was happening. But there was also a study that came out about 6 months later that talked about that the UN had done just talked about how far we'd gone in digitization because, as I said to you earlier, I'm much more a numbers person. I like to look at things in those scientific ways, not in I think is what I see, because that's really my opinion. So I really do like to be able to have evidence and not just talk about something. So what it showed, which is what I had kind of figured out, was that on the telecom side, we have very good reach, over 90%, right? People have got telephones and cell phones and everything. But where we really were lacking was in the area of internet and the consistency and the strength of our network. These were things that were really, really lacking. And then, of course, all the benefits that come from that could not be accrued because we were lacking in this area. So you always hear people all the time, hey, network. We don't have that strength. Downloading is very challenging. And so you have expense as you download. And as you upload, you have expense because of that. There's also the cost issue. We'd see it's quite expensive compared to our counterparts. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But one of the main ones is when we buy through the EPTC, when we buy data from South Africa, we buy it at a very decent price. But by the time it comes to us, we've got to cover costs at the post office. And so things kind of balloon. So we're always looking every single day with the players, be it MTN or Swatini Mobile and other players, would say, how can we minimize costs? But we have to get to the point because having lower costs is part of the ingredients that make us attractive, both for you as young people trying to do business, but also for children at school trying to go to classes and to learn and be able to research, and also for business people and attracting those from the outside to come in and invest so that we can be able to have more jobs and better paying jobs.
The landscape, like you had said, we see where is a lab, Honorable Minister? Is it because we're buying data, like you said, we see Tenga in South Africa, if now we have to cover costs and all of that.
Yes, that's one of the main points. The things that are exciting for us going forward is we have found money and we're hoping to close that transaction and do financial close in getting money to be able to, first of all, lay fiber throughout the whole entire country. Because that's the sustainability and that's the strength of our connectivity from every corner of the country. But also we're looking to say, how do we also install satellites, especially in the areas in the country that are very far-reaching, near mountains, very rural, where the fiber will not be as strong as it is maybe in a city where there's more infrastructure. So we're looking at installing those two things so that we're able to give you the sustainability, the connectivity, and the strength. And we're hoping, Woodsy, the loan will be approved and we'll be able to go down that road and be able to do that. But also we want to be able to say, when we look at things like government in your hand, we want to be able to add all these services that then can be able to be carried by the network because we have the strength, right? We also want to be able to ensure, Woodsy, everything that you get out of government, you really, in this day and age, should not be walking into an office unless it's an anomaly. You know, you've got 3 IDs and there's a funny story going on, right? But if you're a normal, everyday person, you should be able to apply for your birth certificate and get it at home. You should be able to get your driver's license at home. You should be able to be notified that your passport is expiring in 6 months or 3 months or whatever, and be able to apply for a passport using biometrics to verify that you are actually the person that is applying for the passport. You should be able to get services like scholarships online. You should be able to get services like applying for a school online. You should not be standing in line in a hospital when you're at your most vulnerable and waiting for a nurse. You should be able to have a system that tells you that you now can be able to go to the hospital and you're the next in line. So these are things you should be able to see a doctor virtually. You should be able to look after your kettle and know where your kettle are at any given time. You know, parents should be able to have services where they can talk to the teachers online and be able to receive your results online instead of you fixing your results before the parents.
But
we know the story, right? So these things are things that we should be able to have as a country. And then not only have them, but be able to export them to other countries to be able to make an income. Because when you don't make an income, you're really on a road to an unsustainable and a situation that you cannot contain. You risk your peace. You risk people being able to grow your economy. You risk so many things that disturb the country if you're not able to make an income. You know, when people are not earning money, they're thinking about other things that they have no business thinking about. And you cannot blame them. You know, when a person is hungry, you know, you cannot negotiate with that person. So we need to figure out ways to get everybody employed, especially our young people. I really worry about, if you were to ask me what really keeps me up at night, is really how do we get our young people employed? How do we ensure that we're really focused on them? And how do we get them involved in the system as opposed to keeping them out and staying in jobs too long?
But Honorable Minister, why does it seem so maybe far-fetched for maybe a typical Swazi? You could see the thing for Kumangat is like, angitendeke ukuthi ungakhuluma umntwana afunze virtual, like i-passport yakho fix it online. Do you think it's a mindset problem or what? Because I'm sure you've experienced the Honorable Minister ICT we are dreamer.
I love being a dreamer. It got me where I am. You know, when you stop believing, one of the things that I worry about, and I don't know what has caused this, when I first got this job, I sat with the team. I created a project management team of the younger people in the ministry because I wanted them to bring in that kind of thought process. And I said, we're going to do this and this and this and this. And here's our plan. Give me your ideas. What are your thoughts on what I've just put together? And they said, how, Minister? Look, and I thought to myself, my God, the damage that's been done to our young people. When young people stop dreaming, there's no country. When young people stop seeing the future as amazing and great, there's no country. You are our believers. When we have stopped dreaming, we've got to come to you and say, what does it look like? And you must say to us, it looks amazing. When you don't have that in your vocabulary, what do we have? When we stop your dreams, when we don't open doors for you, what are we doing? So for me, when I was sitting with the team and saying we're going to do all these things, none of them believed it. I said, you're going to be the best performing ministry because you're going to be ethical. You're going to show others how it's done. When you supply accounts to Parliament, you're going to be honest. Don't tell stories. Don't fluff up and cover things. If something is wrong, we put up our hands and say, we messed up on this one. We're going to fix it. When they tell something is not done right, we listen and we fix it. We don't fight because we were trying to fight our corner. If they're wrong, they're wrong. But if they're right, we've got to be able to fix things because they are the ones who are there for oversight. Now, in putting this together, in talking to them together, I said, we're going to have a thing called government in your hand. When I coined that term, I was saying to them, you've got to visualize the term to say government will be where you are because everybody's got a phone that they're carrying. At least 98% of the people in the country have a phone that they're carrying. To say, you don't need to take away people's dignity. Standing in line is a dignity stealer. Waiting and asking someone and paying someone to potentially give you a passport or an ID steals the dignity, steals the future, because theft, people think if I take a pencil from work or some paper from my child to do their homework, no. And if that becomes comfortable, you graduate into bigger and more issues as far as what you're stealing. So when you're looking at putting dreams to happen, when people call me a dreamer, I don't look at it and go, oh, this is a terrible thing. Because every single thing you're holding in your hand today, whether it's or anything that you have, someone had to dream about us having lights, electricity, and we have it. Someone had to dream about us having water coming out of a tap, and we have it. Someone had to dream about us having a car. And all these things, your cell phones, someone had to dream and get called a dreamer and get called, whatever. And today we have it. If we don't have dreamers, we don't have a country. Someone has to dream it and then bring it to reality. And some dreams don't come true. But my goodness, you're in the game. You've got to stay in the game. And so for me, the continuous dreaming about what's possible when I close my eyes, I think this land could be a great example of what's possible in our Africa. We cannot live a life where we go to the grave and everybody says, in Africa, there were 4 or 5 millionaires, billionaires, and whatever. The rest had nothing. That's a sad indictment on leadership. You have to be able to take everybody along. Maybe not everybody's going to be a millionaire or a billionaire, but they've got to be able to sustain their own lives and live a life that's decent and has dignity.
So, Honorable Minister, in some of the initiatives, logo waba now, logo still you've been in office. Kunabo government in your hand. Kunabo the other, is it coders Eswatini?
Yes.
So what's one initiative that excites you the most out of all the ones logo waba you?
You know, we live in an interesting environment because sometimes people cannot connect the dots of what we're trying to do. And sometimes because of the way government happens, you can't do everything kind of laterally. Some things you've got to do in a concurrent way so that you try and put it all together. But to me, if you were to ask me what I'd love to see, and I'll answer your question just now when I leave office, I'd love to be able to see an environment where we've got a very, very strong infrastructure. So the issue of dropping of phones and all that becomes a thing of the past. And the issue of being able to have connectivity that's reliable becomes our life's position. There's a problem in that area. I'd like for us to minimize the cost of data, right? I'd like for us to be able to have data in schools so that children can be able to research. You shouldn't only be able to have this access. Everybody should have this access. We have such smart children all over the country. We are blessed with very smart, able, and willing children. We should be able to open those doors for us. So that's also for me to be able to have that connectivity. And also at Tingunleni, we've done the free Wi-Fi at Tingunleni. I'm so excited about that. We want to do more at Tingunleni for that access point, right? We also want to be able to ensure, as the services are being put in, we also put in services that are not necessarily government services. So for example, one of the things we're going to be launching in a couple of weeks is the issue of being able to track your cattle or your livestock. So you actually would see, by virtually on the phone, so when people are stealing your cattle, or if they're crossing the border, you can tell. You want to be able to have people not go to the doctor, but be able to see the doctor on the phone, and then the doctor just sends a prescription for you. You want to be able to, again, as I said earlier, to ensure, you don't have to be applying for schools. We've already done a testing on 250 schools. So next year, you want to be able to say, parents, when they're applying for children to go to school, they don't have to stand in line. Right. We also want to help what chief emakhaya ukuthi babanika someone a portion of land. Bakwati ukuthi no, naya Savannah, naya James, naya John. So that we give them digital coordinates to be able to say you don't have any overlaps, so there's no fights, there's no issues, because you know exactly whose piece of land this is, and there's no overlaps. So there's a lot of things we're going to be adding on. That excites me because that gets me closer and closer to being able to give dignity to a lot of people. But also, I want to be able to create content creators with money, because that's what the world is going to. And that's for their businesses, for whatever else they're doing, for their social life, right? You need to be able to create different ways of making money. And this is why I'm so focused on talking to the hyperscalers to be able to negotiate with us. And it's a very difficult negotiation because I think it's something we should have done over 5 or 7 years ago. We missed that particular boat, but we're going to get back into it. If it's the last thing I do, I'm going to get these kids getting their money and everybody else in the middle. And also, I'm very excited about understanding that how do we then get the young people who are creating apps that are low, whether it's low tech or high tech, that we can be able to put in government in your hand and have a revenue share with them, but also help them to be able to take those to the rest of the world. And that's why RSTP is so important, to be able to have them in a sandbox there and see how to do a business in the app space. So I look at the excitement in different quarters. The law is exciting. We must get AI law. We must protect people, because whilst the ICT space is exciting, not everything that is exciting is good and beneficial. So how do we protect citizens from things that can be disruptive, things that can be harmful, from things that can take away from their incomes or take away from their safety? So these things we're looking at. We're also then looking to say, how do we also stimulate the economy? Because 35% of the jobs by 2030 we have today will be gone in the world. Okay, so how do we build capacity for the new jobs? So I'm talking to all these people like the UAE, like Taiwan, to India, to the United States, to say, how do you take our kids and give them capacity? Talking to hyperscalers to say, how do you do that? But we need to be open to that. You said something earlier, is we as leaders must be open to opening the door for you. And that's the critical part. Because if we're not open, if we're still holding on, then we're a problem for you than a solution. And that's where we need that mindset change to say, we're creating a future for you. We have to be able to plant trees and not be afraid that we'll never enjoy the shade of those trees, that others will. And have a grace enough to say and understand that others did the same thing for us. And so we are duty bound to do the same thing for you.
We could listen to you speak all day, Honorable Minister, because you have this thing of talking about the right things, and then man, they make so much sense.
Oh, I hope so. I hope they make sense.
So now, Honorable Minister, one of the questions, because we took the liberty of asking the public, ukuthi yini into abangafisa ukuthi sikubute tona, so basiphathisile labanye.
Okay.
And I'm glad most of the things that butile, you just covered it.
Oh, okay.
So one of the things also kwavela ukuthi indzaba Starlink sona kuthi kuhamba kanjani, nangabe is there a chance ukuthi Starlink sibe khona in the kingdom or of Eswatini or?
I have exciting news. Starlink is already in the kingdom, but we're going to be doing something, so I don't want to say when we are launching it. We're also doing a space program with them. In our space program, we've got India as a partner. We've got NASA, which is the American. Starlink is also going to be a partner. We're finalizing that. And we're also looking at the Canadian government to also be part of that. So they're also, they've got SpaceX, as you know. So they're an exciting partner for us. And we must be open to that because they're leading in the world. I've always been a believer that if you want to get married, talk to somebody who's been married for 30 years and happily married. Right? So whatever you're going to do, talk to the best person in that particular field. So you can jump a lot of hoops, number one. Number two, you can have the best partner to be able to go through the journeys of life with that can be quite difficult and challenging and requiring of you. So when we look at people like Starlink, and they come and they work with us and we're going to do things with them and we're doing things with them. When we look at people like Google, when we look at people like Amazon, when we look at the variety of companies, the countries are desperate to get to come to them and we're able to close them. This is great because what we'll then do is, as our young people are partnering with them, learning from them, not only are they learning to be able to grow their own businesses, they're able to learn and be able to even maybe get remote work. Because one of the other things I think I had not mentioned to you is we're working very hard with countries like the UAE to say, how do we get Swati to work remotely from Eswatini and work in the UAE? We pay a salary here, we don't have a brain drain, but also we're able to ensure that our children have quality jobs. So Starlink is part of the ingredients for us to be able, in the connecting of the dots. And in the connecting of the dots, we're talking to people like DHL, right? You've got to get the best brand names are doing things in the area of movement and logistics. You've got to talk to people, like Dubai Port. These are people who are doing this every day for a living. They'll understand what the cost of something is so we don't waste money. They'll understand how we can make money with the government and we do a revenue share with them. Because I am so disappointed by some of the parastatals that I've had to be in contact with, that after so many years, they're still looking to the mother body called government for money. You hire CEOs and you hire executives to be able to make the money. If an executive cannot make money for an institution, they should not be called a CEO. It should be called a commercial money receiver. Mm-hmm. So we need to be able to bring and teach you that when you run your businesses, they should make money. They should be profitable. And you cannot look to your parents every 2 minutes. You come back home every 2 minutes because it's not working. You've got to be able to stand your ground. Government has so many social requirements, parastatals, or at least a lot of them. Some are not meant to be money-making, but a lot of them should not be looking to government for money. There's been for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years to look into government. Then why are they parastatals? There should be divisions of government then.
Nyalo, songatfola imali lephuma eMzansi ngahamba mali wakho. Tihlobo takho letise South Africa atisadzingi kusebenzisa tindlela letingumgunyathi naletingakaphephi. Cela nothumela imali kuthi asebenzise iMomo app yase South Africa, click send now noma mukuru kuthumela namuhla. Imali ingena ngakuphathima kweliso. Momo akanamncele.
So, Honorable Minister, by AI, now it's one of the things that we're vocal ngato kakhulu since ungenile in office. So, what because it's tricky. Ihamba njani AI, and how can we use it to our advantage as a developing country?
So we're doing coding right now.
Mm.
And the coding thing is very important. Why is it important is that it's got 4 other courses and AI is one of them. But let me tell you this, in the next year, 12 months, coding will be done by AI. So the only reason we're looking at MSRT to be coders is that it starts to train your mind to think in that particular way. There are many jobs that AI will take away. And I'm not the one that built it to take it away. So don't look at me and say, I took away the jobs. What I'm saying is, what are we doing to prepare ourselves for the different jobs? And what are we doing? Because what will set aside a human being from AI is critical thinking, is empathy, is planning for the future, right? So if we don't train our children from the early grades to be critical thinkers, to be problem solvers, then they'll meet a world that they're not ready for, and that's not ready for them, and it will eject them. We're already, as Africa, being ejected from the world. This area of digitization is the one opportunity we still have to really participate in the economy, where we really don't need to depend on anybody. Just a government that gives us an environment that allows us to be able to work. And that's what government is focusing on, opening up those doors for you. You then can be able to have solutions for other young people here in Eswatini, in the continent, and the rest of the world. That's what I see AI giving you. That even if you're not a technologically, talented person, it helps you to be able to enhance what you're doing. Whether you're a makeup person, whether you're a whatever, it becomes the enhancer for you to leapfrog to better opportunities, to be your own boss, to be your own job creator, but also to be able to have careers where you can fit in. If we don't have this, I was looking at the curriculum at Egwaluseni. Some things do concern me because we're sacrificing as parents to pay for courses that are in the past. And that's hard come by money. These parents are working really hard to make this money. We've got to have a sense of urgency about other people's future. Get to now suthi wena. Awumcabangeli omunye umuntu. But kufuneka ukuthi mawuthi ungumphathi noma you've been given the honor of being a leader, always be hungry. So you know how the other person feels. Always have a sense of urgency. Because now. That's the call.
But the fire, Honorable Minister, of being a dreamer, the fire of getting things done like you, is it something that you learn along the way, or is something that you are born with? Because I'm sure you struggle with finding people that vibrate at the same energy as you. So I'm trying to understand even rumin. And maybe if you're trying to present it, maybe just AI. Is it because our parents, they weren't dreamers enough, or they felt like it was impossible? Understand sometimes as it deserves, it maybe logo America, logo South Africa. I don't know if you get the question that I have.
I kind of do. I've never had the problem of not thinking I deserve something. I've never had that particular challenge. So I cannot relate to it. What I do know is being a dreamer, and when you see things others cannot see, can be the loneliest place in the world, because very few people understand you and very few people want to be around you. People want to see what they've seen before. People want to be around people who are like them. And people also don't sometimes want to see someone else progressing. When I say progressing, you're showing them off. So what I always tell, when I do a lot of coaching, right? I've got 40,000 people that I work with in a coaching environment that I coach. And I always say, train yourself very early to not care what others think. You've killed yourself, because they will talk whether you're doing something or not doing anything. They might as well talk when you're doing something. When you are scared about people talking about you, mostly badly, then you're not existing. You see, people will always go after a moving van or a moving car. And they say that some people do, some people teach. You've got to be a doer. You've got to get to the point where it's so important for you to be about something. Whatever it is, be about it. And I always say, when you write an obituary, your obituary, what would you like it to say? Write it now. Then live to what you want it to say. Don't exist, live. You know, there are people who are in a bus and there are passengers under the driver who tells you where to go, how to go. We're given this one life. We must live it abundantly. I don't want to get to heaven, and I am going to heaven. That's guaranteed. I don't want to get there and God opens the cupboard and says, look at you, Savannah, you had all these gifts.
So the Honorable Minister, the confidence, right?
Oh, no. You know why? I've been treated so badly in the world, including here. But I've been so prayerful, even for those who treat me badly, that I do know I'm going to heaven.
Mm.
So I say to you, I don't want to get to heaven. You never used all your gifts. You never looked at all your opportunities. I want to go to an empty cupboard. Well done, you did it all. And sometimes you look at me and think she's crazy. I welcome that. Sometimes you look at me and say she's never going to do it. I welcome that. My life experience and my life has been an example of all that. But guess what? I did do it. So I want to say to the young people, when you feel like you're a loner, you feel like nobody's looking, cares or understands you, this is fine. It's part of the test. It doesn't also end. Don't think when I grow up, it stops. No, it gets more and more intense. You meet crazier and crazier people. You meet people who are not finished. There are people who are not finished in being raised. There are people who, for whatever reason, their raising has damaged them. And so they'll damage you. You've got to figure out how to protect yourself. You've got to figure out about your life's journey. We're only responsible for ourselves. And you as young people need to know that and need to know, how do you make your way in the world? How do you have integrity? How do you ensure that you're financially responsible? And how do you understand money? Outside of digitization, the second thing I would say is understand how money works. If you are in your 30s and you've been employed for 10 years and you have no savings, why are you working?
He's 30. What are your savings?
But you understand what I'm saying? Because otherwise, you risk the real chance. Because if they say to you today, they're retrenching you. From the age of 30, you should have a minimum of a year savings for a salary. In your 40s, you should have 4 years. In your 50s, you should have 10 years. Yes, you've got a retirement plan and all these things. Many people could be millionaires if they were able to sacrifice and understand money. But you've got to have sacrifice. You know, what I worry about with the Instagrams is that you guys look at people who are showing you lives they don't even have, that they're also leasing, and you think it's real. And then you take money that you actually do have to imitate those lives and get broke. So whilst you're creating content, make it a business. Don't let it consume you to the point where you've got nothing.
Guys, do you have any questions while you still think around it? Yeah, it's really a privilege, again, Honorable Minister, on the platform. We've faced challenges, especially being content creators, you don't work in the country, blah, 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 blah. So most of the things that you talk about, we really can relate, because it's not easy, yes, but we're taking it one day at a time, because this is our dream and this is what we are really good at. And once again, we are thankful to take a chance on us as young people and just hear us out, maybe it's pattern for you, and with that being said, what can you say to young creators, maybe also my content creators that would be willing to be part of Emma initiatives that under a ministry, and also how can they assist in the
So I do
ministry?
want to say a few things. It's hard for a parent who had to be an accountant, a lawyer, a doctor, to see content creation as a job and as something that you could make money out of. So have some grace for your parents, because they were raised with you must be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer. So it's hard for them. And the parent will always say, hey, so, understand for them. But that being said, in the next couple of months, we're going to have some exciting things and bringing actually the people that you are talking to here to you to come and tell you how to do what we're talking about as far as content creation is concerned and how you're going to get paid for it. I want you to see them face to face, because you call me a dreamer, right? And then also, I want you to also be disciples as you sit here as young people. Language is important. Teach young people to say, hey, look what's now kuluma. And I say, how are you doing today? Siyazama. These are not good things. The universe hears these things. We've got to be able to start calling and saying, we're doing great. Everything is happening wonderfully for us. This language is important because it is a language of defeat that meets you and confirms your defeat. So if you say, I'm corny, then the universe will comply. How many then the universe will comply. Let's start changing the language and saying, Maswati will do it and we deserve it. And I want to also say to you, let's start looking at things that you guys can collaborate on in businesses. And part of that is, as you're talking about content creators coming into the ministry and offering things to do or into our parastatals, we're completely open to that. That is why we have RSTP that has opened the door for content creators, for a variety of app developers, and all the people in our particular space to come in and show what they've got. We want to be able to protect your IP so that you can be able to have your content protected and no one's stealing it from you, whether it's here or globally. We want to see how we can help you monetize it. So if we're working with you, for example, in government in your hand, how can we monetize that for you? And how can we take you to the world? This is very important to us. But we welcome you all. In fact, at the middle of this year, we're going to have a competition for app developers and content creators to see who's the best at a particular thing and be able to give them some rewards. Because we recognize that this is a career environment of the future. Let's involve everybody. We don't want to involve so-and-so's child, Savannah's kid, or Gugu's kid. We want to involve everybody's child. We've got to get to the point where we respect children from rural areas, disabled children, people who are differently presenting in the world. Because we are all God's children. We should be all given a chance to participate in this life. No one should tell you how. Only God can direct you. And so whilst one has the honor of His Majesty positioning one here, why don't you do the best for the country and His Majesty? I never understand when someone puts you somewhere, you then embarrass them and you do terrible things. Your parents have put you on this earth. Don't embarrass them. Don't do terrible things. Just go and work and make sure that you can able to encourage others to work together. And look at yourselves as an ecosystem. If you are doing this, how do you get a friend who's a lawyer to be part of your business? How do you get a friend who's an accountant to be part of your business? And then they'll do somebody else's business. So all of a sudden, you all have an accountant, a lawyer for your contracts, an HR person for hiring people. And so it goes. And you look at that space in that particular way, you start becoming businesses yourselves amongst each other. And at some point, you could be able to even come together as an official business. But start looking at collaborating with each other. African to African, woman to man, and man to woman, whatever. But make sure that you collaborate and take away this thing that Africans tend to have, that I cannot work with another African, or I've got to put another African down for me to be able to have light. We can all have light. We don't have to bring anybody down to have our own light. So I'd like to say to the young people, please be responsible and please invest in your own lives.
When I had a meeting with your team, Honorable Minister, the last time, bakhala ngendaba ukuthi sekunema accounts labangawa understand But maybe if you want to talk
Yes.
about that a little bit, because how much were they giving away? 50K.
I know there's been some terrible people who've been using my image and saying, "Gutsi, every swatch it's gonna get 50,000." I would love for that to happen, but it's very untrue and it's very unfortunate.
Oprah Winfrey, 50K
You get
for
a car.
everyone.
You get a car. You get a 50. You get a 50. No, we're working for you guys to be able to make your own 50s, but it's fake. It's not true. It's not me, and it's unfortunate that people are using my image. And I think that shows very poor souls. That shows people who are thieves of souls, because when you put that out there, what do you expect to do? You're a dream killer and you're a murderer, and that's a terrible thing to do.
So, Honorable Minister Njawangshid, guys, okay, here's a question.
Yes. Camera number 2.
Yes, camera number 2.
Pambili TV.
Yes.
Honorable Minister, my question is about the updates on the Google partnership that you guys
Yes.
had. I don't know how much you can speak on it if it's an ongoing process, but just my personal experience, because I work in digital content creation, which is primarily video. So I have to use a lot of files, if that makes sense. I have to transfer a lot.
Yes. Yes.
So recently,
Storage is a problem.
it's a very huge problem.
Yes.
So recently, I had to transfer a huge file, and I tried to sign up for Google One, which is an online platform, and it's something that a lot of Swazis actually face, where you go to the website, you'll get to the last page, and it will say, "Hey, it's not available in your country." And even with this YouTube channel, if I want to be a member to his YouTube channel, I now have to find workarounds, which is getting a VPN or going to South Africa and then paying for his channel. So I think it's very important that Google is operational in our country. And just for me personally, what is the progress?
So Google does not recognize us, and that's why our searches are so limited. And that the whole point of bringing them here was not only for them to be able to be a hyperscaler in Eswatini, that people knew that they were here as a partner, but also to be able to take away these problems, to be able to say on YouTube, you can be able to be paid, right? To be able to say you can be able to have the space, to be able to say that you can search more, much more, in a deeper space and time. To be able to also give us processes that could be able to have government work more effectively. The geo-addressing, one of the things we don't have properly. Also, that kind of thing. How do we get it? You just give me a geo-address and I get to your house and figure out. Those are all the things that we wanted to be able to do with them. We've had an unfortunate thing, and I'm not going to lie because I don't like to lie. We've really been blocked in many ways to bring Google, which is very, very unfortunate. It's part of the thing that makes me disappointed, that we don't seem to understand the entire role of Google. You hear language like, "Oh, Minister's bringing Google here because she owns it and she wants to steal information from the country." Google is in the trust business, right? They're not going to go and come and steal your information. How do they even monetize it? So the hard work that one is doing to try and bring it here is always limited, is always challenged. And I've said to myself, from the beginning of this year, I'm not going to lie about anything anymore. I'm not going to cover anything anymore. So we're still pushing for it. We still want it to work because it opens up those things. When kids are in school are researching, for you to have space as creators, that's all you need, more and more space all the time. Now you have to go and pay for it and get into lose money when you could have it as a part of your toolkit. So we're continuing to push. But it's not easy. Sometimes we are so invested in own goals scoring. It amazes me that people will cut their nose to spite their face. It completely shatters my mind. That how do people get so invested in crashing the future of others? How do people get so invested in lying so much that they're invested in defeat than progress? The progress is not for me. It's for you guys. It's for the country. So we've got to get to the point where we stop being comfortable in scoring own goals. And if we say we're Christians, let's act like it.
Yeah. Guys, from the minister's team, nothing, are we leaving something out, something that you want to echo? But
continue to support us and tell us what you want. If there's things we can help you with, let us know. If there are services that you're looking at, Because this thing, for example, of content creation, I'm only on these things because they put me on it because I'm on this job. Before then, I was just, we buy shares in these companies because, the kids like them, so you grow your portfolio. But I started to realize that, wait a minute, people are not getting paid. Wait a minute, da-da-da-da. So, these are things that I'm thinking about as I'm observing things going around. But I'm very happy for you as you're telling me now. But I already knew that, and that's why I was bringing Google in. You should be able to order from, where do people order from?
Uber Eats.
Uber Eats, you should be able to order from Shane and all these other places and get it delivered to your home. We want to be able to use EPTC for that, right? You should be able to have Uber, right? So that when you're going out with your friends at night.
Oh, you weren't asking about food. Me, I like food. So I started with Uber Eats.
No. I'm just saying, all these things should be able to be available to you. And that's what we're working on.
Yeah. It's possible. It's going to happen, Honorable.
All things will come together for good.
And I must say, you have a really good team. Your team made it so easy for us.
They're wonderful.
They are. So I'm just trying to make them understand. The team they're doing their job, and they really made sure they're good at communication and everything.
They really are. No. Listen, I think one of the things that's great about being in this job is I can really say to myself after whatever period that I'm here for, that we've come a long way, right? There's been some struggles, but I think we've come a long way. As I'm looking at a particular young lady across the table, she knows who she is. It wasn't fun at the beginning, but you don't get better without sacrificing and getting things that you were not used to getting before. So I always say to them, you've got to be better, or at least do no harm. And when I say do no harm, I mean get out the way for those who can do, right? They have been really invested in us succeeding in this space. They've been really part of the story, and they really are amazing young people who really want us to win. And so when you have a team that wants you to win, it makes the winning even easier.
Honorable Minister, that's episode. So, but what I wanted from you, what other initiatives can we expect? Of course, so fortunately, don't get into so ngato. Maybe nemagama just to inspire young people, just to inspire Maswati. In general, in Bhilo, would see.
I think everybody should plan for their lives. I don't care how old you are. I always, I carry this notebook here. I look at myself as a product. You guys do too when you are doing your social media. And I don't look at myself in the product in that particular way. I always, in the November of every year, I write what I want to achieve in the following year. And I also look at what I've achieved the year before. You can't just keep existing, right? You got to put these things out there. Number one. Number two, if we as your parents are corrupt and stealing, don't follow us. Create a better country, right? Because this corruption has stolen us blind. And it will take us to our knees if we're not careful, because we're stealing your future. Anytime you hear that so-and-so has taken 1 million emalangeni, always know it's taken away from your opportunity and your future. You've got to get to the point where you ask us, what are we doing for your future? So that's something that I think is important. I also think that make your country proud. But most importantly, make yourself proud. No one's coming to save us. There's no, knight in shining armor. You have to invest in yourself. You've got to find every single opportunity to invest in yourself. My first 3 years of work after college, I was an intern. Not paid. But I understood that where I was interning, I was learning so much that investment would take me throughout life. And it did. I worked in Congress, I worked in all these places to learn about the world and money. By the time I got to the world and money, I knew exactly what to do and how to do it. So don't only look at things that are going to pay you. Some things pay you even more because of the experience that you get. So maybe it's not only a job that's going to pay you, but a job that's going to invest in you. And always look at different things to do that can really bring in who you are and really bring you income. The world is your oyster. You really, really have to think more than the borders of this country. This country is great. You must make it great with us. But you must also say, I'm from Eswatini and I own the world. That's what we want to be able to hear from you, because we should see more Eswatins being named globally as success stories. And not saying, I don't deserve this. Everything on God's good earth belongs to all of us.
Honorable Minister, thank you so much for your time. And a little bit out of context, but like, I've never celebrated a birthday. And tomorrow is my birthday. So this is the best birthday gifts. I told her this episode is something that we will
wonderful.
always treasure for the rest of our lives. So thank you so much, Minister.
Well, I have a very strange birthday. I'm born on the 29th of February. So I have this unfortunate thing that I'm actually a man. I should actually not be even working here. If you count one every 4 years, right? But there you go.
Honorable Minister. Thank you so much to the team. Thank you so much,
everybody. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate everything.
See you guys on the next episode. Please make sure you subscribe to the biggest YouTube channel. Honorable Minister, subscribe.
Add them on, do whatever, follow, do everything.
Yeah.
And we will talk again at the end of the year and talk about what we've achieved.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much. Happy birthday.
Thank you.